In this video, we're going to create the birth date string application from the tutorial in your textbook. This application will allow the user to enter some information about the day they were born, and then it will display a string that contains that date. I have a completed version of the application running. We're going to see how the application is supposed to work when it's finished, and then we'll work through the creation of the application. But first, we enter the day of the week. So let's just go ahead and enter some information here. Let's say Friday was the day, and the month is June, and the numeric day of the month is June 5th, and the year was 1992. So this would be the information that someone would enter, someone who was born on Friday, June 5th, 1992. And we click the Show Date button, and you can see that this information was taken and it was concatenated into a string that is displayed here in this label control. Now, I'll point out that the output is displayed with the day of the week, Friday, followed by a comma, followed by a space, followed by the name of the month, followed by a space, followed by the numeric day of the month, followed by a comma and a space, and then followed by the year. So you're going to read all of this data from the text box controls, and you'll concatenate the data together, inserting the commas and the spaces in the appropriate places, and then the resulting string will be displayed in this label control. And all of that happens when you click the Show Date button. We also have a clear button that simply clears all of the data that is in the text box controls, as well as this label control, just like that. And of course we have an exit button that exits the application. As you are creating the GUI for this application, you'll refer to this figure which appears in your textbook. The figure shows the placement of all of the controls, and it shows the names of each of the controls. The properties for these controls, the relevant property settings, are also shown in your textbook in a table. So be sure to pay close attention to this table as you're creating those controls, and make sure that you get all of the required property settings. When you get to step 3 in the tutorial, you'll be ready to write the click event handlers for the button controls. First, we will create the click event handler for the Show Date button. Before we switch over to the code editor, let's think for a moment about the example running of this application that we just looked at. Recall that we entered the following pieces of information into the text boxes. We entered Friday, June, 5, and 1992. And the output of the program was a concatenation of these strings with commas and spaces inserted in the appropriate locations. So the Show Date button is going to concatenate all of this data in the following way. We want the day of the week followed by a comma and a space, followed by the name of the month, followed by a space, followed by the numeric day of the month, followed by a comma and a space, followed by the year. So that's how we're going to construct the resulting string that will be displayed in the output label. Okay, well, let's go ahead and write the click event handler for the Show Date button. The first step is to declare a string variable that will hold the output. So let's write a comment indicating what we are doing, we're going to declare a string variable, and here's the declaration of the variable. We'll name it output. And then the next step is to perform the concatenation to get the items of input from the text boxes and to build the string that we're going to display. So let's write a comment about that. Concatenate the input and build the output string. And this is where we will perform the concatenation, and we will assign the result to output. So we'll say output equal, and we'll start by getting the day of the week. Okay, and we are going to concatenate a string containing a comma and a space. Following that, we will get the name of the month, and following the name of the month, we'll concatenate a space. Following that, we want the day of the month. Following the day of the month, we're going to concatenate a comma followed by a space. And then the last thing is the year. Okay, so that statement will perform all of the necessary concatenation. And we still need to display the concatenated string, so we will simply assign the output variable to the date output label controls text property. So let's write a comment. Okay, and then the assignment statement look like that. Okay, so that should be the code for the show date button control. Okay, so let's switch back to the designer, and the next step is to write the code for the clear buttons click event handler. Once again, this button simply clears the data that is displayed by the text boxes and the label control. So we will double click that, and first let's clear the text boxes. I'll start with a comment indicating that that's what we're doing. Now we will clear the day of week text box, and we simply assign an empty string to the text property. And we'll do that for all of the text boxes. And last, we will clear the label that we use to display the output. Okay, so that should be it for clearing all of those controls. Next, we will go back to the designer, and let's write the event handler for the exit button. And the exit button is simply going to close the form. So we'll write a comment, and the statement is this dot close. Okay, well that should complete the application. So let's try it out. Okay, so we will use the same test data that we used before. Friday, June 5th, 1992. We'll click the Show Date button. And here we get Friday, followed by a comma and a space, followed by a June space, 5, comma, space, 1992. Okay, so that seems to work. Try the clear button. Okay, and that works. And we'll try the exit button. Okay, it looks like the application is working.